that is really the best thing about going through something terrible or through something so difficult is that we can sing that song like to the top of our lungs, can't we? Because we've seen him do things. We've seen him move mountains. So we know what that's like. And once you've gotten a taste of that, once you've experienced that in your life, man, it changes your perspective on everything. And one of the perspective changes that I hope that we can embrace together today is something that sounds wrong when I first say it. So I want you to kind of hang in there with me. And maybe even by the end of our time together today, you may say, I'm still not sure I agree with you on that, Bill. That might be what you say. But I do think there's a tension to this. And you may say, oh, yeah, I agree with that. I hope that you do. I believe this to be true. But I think I don't always think this way or live this way. So here it is. Ready? I am not better than someone else because of my faith in Jesus. Let me say it again. I am not better than someone else because of my faith in Jesus. Now, I'm a little bit of an analytical mind, and when I hear people say things and they say, I've got this bold statement to make that is so true and maybe even controversial, I'm already ready to debate it a little bit in my brain, like, okay, let me see if that's really true or not. And even as I wrote that down in my notes and was saying, okay, I'm going to say this on Sunday, I was already thinking of the argument against it myself too. In my own mind, I was thinking, but can't you say that the condition of a person who believes in Jesus, that the condition of their life is better than the condition of the life of someone who does not believe in Jesus? Okay, I would actually say yes to that. But that wasn't what I said in that statement. I didn't talk about condition. I didn't talk about future. I'm saying the person. Maybe a better way to say it is the value of the person. I am not more valuable than someone else because of my faith in Jesus. Think about it this way. Me and someone else are somewhere in the Ohio River drowning. Somewhere in the Ohio River drowning. I get pulled out of the waters before I die. And I'm so thankful for that. But there's still someone else in the river struggling, trying to stay above water. Am I a better human being than that person that's still struggling in the waters? Am I a more valuable life than that life? The person who just got the results of their scan and the cancer is in remission. Then there's the other person sitting in the chair with the port connected to all kinds of crazy medicine, still battling cancer. Which one is a better human being? Which life is more valuable? That's what I'm getting at. When you think about it, we're not better. In many ways, we're the same. I am not better than, I am rescued. I am saved. I am redeemed, but I'm not better than. And that's what I want us to get at today. The passage I want to share with you from the Bible is Philippians chapter 2. It's one of my favorite passages in the Bible. It actually includes a song or a poem in it. We're not sure which one, but it is from a letter that God inspired the Apostle Paul to write to a church in the area of Philippi, one of his favorite churches. They had such a great relationship, and the church at Philippi was a good church. It was a generous church. It helped out the poor all over Asia Minor, and they were just a very, very good church. But almost every letter that Paul wrote, he gave them something to try to work on a little bit. And there's not much in the book of Philippians that he says y'all are not doing good at this. Most of it's all encouragement and motivation. But he gets to this part in Philippians 2 where he encourages them to have an attitude. He calls it to have the same mind as Jesus, having Jesus' attitude. And I think that that's what we're getting at today. So let me read it for you, starting in verse 1 of Philippians 2. It says, "Is there any encouragement from belonging to Christ? Any comfort from his love? Any fellowship together in the Spirit? Are your hearts tender and compassionate? Then make me truly happy by agreeing wholeheartedly with each other, loving one another, and working together with one mind and purpose. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too. You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had." And this is where it goes into what we think is either a song or a poem back in the first century. "Though he was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. When he appeared in human form, he humbled himself in obedience to God and died a criminal's death on a cross. Therefore, God elevated him to the place of highest honor and gave him the name above all other names, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father." All right. Now that word better, I'm telling you, even as I'm about to say some of the things I'm about to say, can we all agree that in essence, that's what we live for, is better? We're just trying to be better. We want to have a better income, right? Wouldn't it be nice to have better circumstances? Be nice to have a better home? Be nice to watch better TV shows on a better TV with a better resolution, with a better internet speed? If we're going to get to choose between that and not that, we're going to choose that, right? We're always pursuing better. And I know that some of you are like, well, no, that's not me. We pursue to give our children a better life than we had. Okay, now I'm starting to hit somewhere. Okay, maybe I do that, right? We are achieving better. Our life is about better and better and better. What if the key to better, though, is not better? What if the key to the life we think we're striving for is to toss out the idea of better altogether? And you might be making the mental argument like I make, but isn't that what the Bible teaches? Aren't we supposed to start getting, at the very least, getting better spiritually? Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? So isn't that what we should be striving for? But here's the thing. When you look through the scriptures, I don't find God saying, make your life better. Instead, I see these phrases: deny yourself, die to yourself daily, take up your cross daily, and a whole bunch of one another's, one of which we see repeated in the New Testament: submit to one another. And in this passage, think of others as better than yourself. That's what it literally says right here in Philippians 2. Think of others as better than yourself. I think that is a great definition of humility. And I actually think that's the key to the quote-unquote better life that we inherently, without always even thinking about it, are striving for. This is the key. You see, that defines humility well, but if we're being honest, we know that humility is something we should have. We know that that's a character trait that is taught in Scripture, that is applauded in Scripture. But our version of humility, I don't know that it measures up to what Scripture really teaches. Having the mind of Christ, submission, doing what Jesus did, having the idea that I will literally put on human flesh and allow myself to die the most shameful death for people who do not even believe in me at all. And that's different. That is different. I want to give you a little quick example of something. And I thought about whether or not I even want to share this, because I do feel a little bit bad about it, actually. But long story short, our life group was wanting to do a little bit of a project. And I'm just going to leave a lot of details out to protect those who are part of the real story. But we were deciding what we would do is go to a local restaurant and bless them with our business and give a very generous tip to the server as a God bless you, Merry Christmas kind of a thing. We were there a really long time with really terrible service. And here's what we do. Think about this for a moment. I'm still thinking it right now. Our server gave me the impression that they didn't need the help that we were going to give. But how do I know that, right? How do I know that? But it is like I would have bet every cent that I owned that this person really probably didn't even need the blessing. And certainly didn't earn the blessing. You see where my mind's going here? I was like, I don't think I want to do this. Abort the mission, abort the mission. I don't feel good about this. This is terrible, you know? But we did it anyway, and we talked about it. We're like, I think God just taught us a lesson, because we were all thinking, this feels like we don't need to do this. This wasn't what we pictured. We pictured someone that obviously really needed it, and they did a great job, and we had conversation with them, and it was so cool. And we give them this blessing, and they're like in tears saying, please tell me about this Jesus that you worship. And we tell them about him, and there's a moment, and they come to Hickory Grove, and we baptize them that Sunday. That's what you envision. It did not happen that way at all. I don't know. So that's it. That's all the story. We don't know. I don't know. Maybe one day we'll find out, man, there was some cool ripple effects that happened from us doing that. But my big takeaway of that is, oh, Bill, you were ready to put an asterisk on humility. You were ready to put an asterisk of think of others as better than yourselves. You're like, but I'm not going to submit in this situation. I'm not going to continue with the mission that God called us to. I've just gotten around to watching a show called The Chosen. Some of you may have watched it. It's well done, well written, well produced, well acted. It depicts the life of Jesus and the disciples. There's like 16 episodes out, free on Amazon Prime. I'm not getting kickbacks for that advertisement, I promise you. But it's excellent. It's well done. I don't tear up easily, and I've teared up in every episode. But I remember the moment, you may have heard the story of how Jesus healed a leper, a man with a skin disease. And if you've never heard any teaching or preaching on that, man, it was more than just a terrible skin disease that this person suffered from. You were outcast. It was religiously the right thing to do, to scream, unclean, unclean, that guy right there, unclean, unclean, and everybody disperses and stays as far away from him as possible. That was the religious right thing to do. That was the holy, God-ordained thing to do, so they thought. And in the Chosen, in the episode, the disciples watch in horror as Jesus embraces this man. And I'm like, that's it right there. Man, that's the mind of Christ right there. Maybe the key to better is not better. And more specifically, radically viewing everyone that we see around us as better than us. They're better than I am. Man, that's hard to do. I love to run. It's a hobby of mine. I won't go into bore you with details of that, but the group that I run with, there's a lady named Stacy Bosch who has a mind of helping others, and she's organized several what she calls give back runs. We collect donations, put them in backpacks, put them on our backs, and we run in Covington and Cincinnati, and we want to meet people that we help. We give them clothing, we give them food, water, gift cards to places they can walk to. It's so interesting. Here's the thing. Think about this for a moment. In most of my everyday life, 99.99999% of my waking life in this area, if I am in Covington, in Cincinnati, and I'm on my way to do something, I try to not make eye contact. But on the Give Back Run, I got a backpack full of stuff, and I'm on a mission. And so I'm actually trying to make eye contact. We want to talk to people because that's the goal for that day, for that few hours on that day. That's the goal for that day. And it's been such a blessing to be a part of it. I've heard them tell stories of their life. One guy that was near Fountain Square was talking about how he played football in high school and how good he was at it and how his hip is still bad because of it and he needs surgery. And it was just a great conversation. And I came away from those experiences being reminded that people are people are people are people. And none of us are better than the other ones. Right? And this is what Jesus, how he walked on this earth. He called a tax collector to follow him, Matthew. He spoke to one hanging up in a tree and said, I'm coming to your house today. The Samaritan woman at the well, he talked to her, treated her with dignity. Even though all other religious facets of that day were to say, avoid, 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 he refused to avoid. And this is how God has been shaking up my life. Here's the thing. We forget that Jesus said over and over things like, in the kingdom of God, the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. The greatest in the kingdom of heaven is the least. He said it over and over again. Everything is flipped completely in the kingdom of heaven. And we forget that so much. And if we were to embrace that mindset better, I think it would change how we perceive everyone around us and then open up doors of opportunity for us to actually do what God created us and saved us to do. How do we get there? Well, humility starts by seeing ourselves for who we really are. You know who we really are? On our best day, on our best spiritual day, do you know who we are? Do you know who you are? On my best spiritual day, I'm simply a man who's been rescued. That's it. On my best day, on my holiest of days, I'm just a rescued man. That's it. I think over time, if you're a follower of Jesus and you've been doing it for some time, I think over time, you forget how rescued you are. A little example of that happened this past week. I was driving north on 17. I was going to go visit my dad at the hospital in Edgewood. So I'm going on 17 and I pass someone. And maybe you've been in this situation before. I've passed someone. I'm going to go ahead and get in that slow lane. You know, I'm not one of those guys. I'm not going to stay in the fast lane and slow everybody down. I'm a decent driver. But I can see someone coming up fast behind us. I was able to actually, with my eyesight, bifocals, discern very quickly because she's going to pass the person I pass and then try to pass me and keep on going. So if I were to try to get in that slow lane, I'm not going to get there fast enough. There's going to be a potential collision. So I'm like, I need to just stay in the fast lane and let her do her thing. And she come up really fast. I could see her really well in my rearview mirror on the foam blonde hair. Looked like she was in a hurry and whipped over and kept on going in the slow lane really fast. And then the light at McCollum turned red. She stopped. I said, There was another car between us. Light turns green and she goes. I turn the curve and I see her with a light going behind her. She whizzed by a police officer who pulls behind her, pulls her over. I go by her the speed limit with a grin on my face. I'm getting to where I'm going a lot faster than you are today. Na, 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 na. I thought this. I actually made it to the hospital, told Dad all about it. I was like, okay, yeah. I always tell people, if you get in a hurry, you get pulled over, you're going to get there a lot slower than you thought, And anyway, here's the thing, though. If you rewind my life about 9 years ago, I can't remember, but I think it was about that long ago that I got my last speeding ticket. And when I rewind then, I remember seeing people pulled over for weeks or months after that. And you know what my thought was? I feel your pain, man. I'm so sorry. I know what you're going through. It's terrible. That was my attitude then. Here about a decade later, I'm na. Right? Now, that's just a little simple thing in life, but do we not maybe do that a little bit after so long of believing in Jesus? After so long of pursuing him and reading scripture, maybe attending church, we start to think without realizing that at first it was amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Next thing you know, we're sitting in the judge's seat, judging the people that are drowning just like we were. This happens to us if we're not careful. Here's the thing, people who know they are only alive because of someone else are less apt to put themselves above anyone else. Now I'm saying this is a challenge for everyone. Because one thing I've learned is we can all find some kind of comparison with someone out there in the world that will make us feel better about ourselves. And we do it inherently. In fact, this current culture we live in, add social media platforms to it, it's a big thing that we do. You can scan through social media and either feel better about yourself or feel a lot worse about yourself. And it's what we do. The comparison culture is real. And I would argue dangerous and painful and not healthy. That's what we do. But friends, I'm here to tell you, what if we can take on the mind of Christ, as Paul encouraged the Philippian church to do, and start to actually think of others as better than ourselves? And what if that's the secret to us experiencing the better that we're inherently striving for anyway? Because guess what? We're free from the tyranny. We're free from the tyranny of, I got to have a better income and a better house and a better home situation and better circumstances and a better income and a better this and a better that. What if none of that actually matters? And I would argue it absolutely doesn't at all. Especially when we realize how brief this life is. And it's all too many times the things we're striving for and thinking about won't really matter when we're about to breathe our last. Man, what if we were to take on that attitude? And here's what's cool. People who know they are only alive because of someone else, those people make a great rescue team. Man, they're the best rescuers. The one who has received that life-extending organ donation is most often the first one to sign up to be an organ donor. I've known of people that pursued the profession of medicine because they have seen what their own family members went through needing help medically. So I want to devote my life to helping others medically too. That's the mindset that can happen once you come to understand how rescued you are. And once you come to understand that you're only alive because of the rescuer and nothing else, that's it. And that anyone else around you, no matter what they look like, how they act, what you think of them, what others think of them, what your prejudgment might be going on in your mind, at the end of the day, they are the creation of God, bearing the image of God, who the only thing that makes them different, maybe, if you're even right about it, is that they haven't been rescued yet. And your life isn't more valuable than theirs. You're not better than them. And what if you begin to treat everybody around you that you think might be drowning in some way as actually better than you, with honor and dignity? Oh man, I think that would transform everything in our lives and in this community and in this world. Man, what a mindset. So, what do we do? How do we get there? What next step can we take? I'm going to give you a few things to consider. First, if you're here today, if you're watching, listening online, the very first thing I offer you is to let Jesus rescue you. And listen, if you're here in this room or you've been watching online a long time, that doesn't mean that you've been rescued. But the thing that makes you rescued is you've placed your faith in Jesus Christ. I've heard it said over and over again. My predecessor, Will Langford, who was pastor here before me, used to say all the time, coming to church, attending church online or in person, doesn't make you a Christ follower any more than going to McDonald's makes you a Big Mac. He's right. It's so true. Billy Graham himself, that wonderful evangelist, I'd say one of the best evangelists that have ever walked this earth, said he believed that as many as 50% of church attenders still had not taken that first step of faith to just say, Jesus, Romans 10:13, for everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. For everyone who calls on his name. It really resonates well with this analogy of drowning. How do you get rescued? Jesus saved me. That's it. That's simple. It's mind-blowing that not more people have called on his name. But if you don't believe that you're drowning, then you don't. Or if you think you might be drowning, but you don't believe there is a rescuer named Jesus who can change everything, then you don't. That's the difference. And maybe part of the problem is that we don't have enough Christ followers on the rescue team, helping the world to understand, I'm no better than you. Man, I'm not some holy, righteous person saying, bless your heart, you old sinner. No, I'm a beggar who can take you to where I found the bread. Come with me. Come on. Be saved too. Be rescued too. So let Jesus rescue you. Remember, you were rescued. Maybe that's the biggest takeaway if you're a Christ follower today. Maybe you just need to be reminded today that, okay, I'm rescued and I need to just remember that and let my attitude be transformed by that. Or thirdly, think of others as better than yourself. Just start doing that. Maybe that's your spiritual practice you need to start thinking of every day when you wake up. Okay, today I'm going to think of every single person I encounter as better than me. I'm going to treat them as if they are better than me. I'm going to have the mind of Christ today. Or lastly, get involved with the rescue team. See yourself as someone who might be the one that can holler out, I see that you're drowning, but there's a way out. And his name is Jesus. What if more of us pointed people to the lifeguard in this life? Let's ask God to help us take a next step with him right here, right now as we pray. Will you bow with me? Father, we come before you, and in this room, online, there might be one who is yet to call upon the name of the Lord, as it says in Romans 10:30, to call upon your name and just say, save me, Lord. Save me, rescue me now. And you promise that whoever calls upon your name will be saved. So maybe that's the biggest thing that can happen to someone watching, listening in this room right now. Father, for those of us who have believed in you already, would you please change our mind, transform our attitude, help us to be reminded that we're just rescued. Help us to treat others better than ourselves, as you call us to do in your word. And Lord, may we be so inspired by how free we are, how redeemed we are, how alive we are in you, that we would help others be rescued too. Oh Lord, help us to do that now. We pray in the name that is above all names, the name under which every knee will bow and every tongue will confess is Lord. The name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.